This is Kiara, and you are checking out the 3 Count podcast.
Weighing in at an unbelievable weight that you might hate, but you can't even
Dang, I pass what you find that drag ball at.
Now entering the ring.
Welcome everybody to another great edition of the 3 Count podcast presents Now Entering the Ring. I'm your host, Clifford Red Dog Miller. As always, the man who leads you up this mountain, you know, your Sherpa. And it's never about me. It's about who's entering the ring. So who's entering the ring today? Well, this man can be found at ETWA, TIW, Excite, FMLCWE. You can find this man at NYCW, NCW, RPW, VCW, Rise, ROH, and WWE. He is the mentor of so many. He is also the co-founder of the Wrestle Life. He is Brutal Bob Evans.
What's up, Cliffy? And don't forget, just happened to have 3 dates I just left on the calendar. Just left Future Great Wrestling, just left Supreme Wrestling, and just left New Ohio Wrestling. So we added 3 more to the Wrestle Life lifestyle. And as you know, being a member yourself, it's man, just got off 2 days ago. 15 hours there, 15 hours back. Hashtag do the drives, and finished up there. Did 3 shows, 3 seminars and 3 shows. Last one was a showcase for talent. And looks like we got guys booked with 10 different promotions, 2 in Canada. And we're just moving it along, man. Serving this business, serving you, serving the community. And I've been looking forward to this for a long time, man. So fire away whenever you're ready.
Man, I'm just started off just saying thank you for all that you do just inside the wrestling community. It's an honor to actually be a part of it. So I definitely appreciate that you guys were letting me into such a prestigious group of people.
Oh, well, it's great. And we all are welcome. And we try to serve as many people in the wrestling business as we can, wrestlers, managers, promoters, bookers, referees, podcast hosts, people that just want to be connected to the business, make a deeper impact in the business, serve the business better, and hopefully come out with a little bit of money to pay their way through this whole thing so they don't get yelled at by their wife or their girlfriend or their boyfriend or their husband. And, that's what I really should have called it, how to not get yelled at by your wife and come home with money and make everybody happy. Happy wife, happy life. So
Facts. Super
yes,
facts.
Sir.
All right. So first question we're going to start off with is, who is Brutal Bob Evans?
Brutal Bob Evans is a wrestler who's been around for over 29 years. I had my first match in 1992 at the age of 19, which would make me 48 now, with my University of Massachusetts Dartmouth degree. I think that math is right. And started watching wrestling when I was 12, broke in with the Hogan and Piper era. And I was fortunate to wrestle during the Attitude Era and still wrestling and coaching now. I opened my own wrestling school in 2000. I ran that for about 9 years. And then as 2009 rolled around, I felt like I still had a lot to add to the business. So at 37, I decided to be an idiot and lose 40 pounds and go to try out for the Ring of Honor tryout camp. And who knew that I still had something in me? So I started a relationship with Ring of Honor at 37. And that lasted 8.5 years after people predicting I'd be fired every year. And I managed to last 8.5 years there and learned a lot from Delirious, who's their head trainer at Ring of Honor, and all the wrestlers there, obviously. And it helped kind of connect me to the current business. And while I was there, I found myself meeting a lot of independent wrestlers in the national scene and helped mentor them and coach them through. So they would ask me to come to their areas and coach. And all of a sudden it had kind of turned into a viable seminar business. And in 2016, I started Hangs with Bob, and the Hangs with Bob seminars, Hangs with Bob Get Better. And what it was I didn't really want to have just a seminar where I'm standing there telling stories and screaming at everybody. I wanted to just kind of have a fairly casual atmosphere where we wrestle, we learn some stuff, have some laughs, come out with education, and really just kind of, love on everyone. And doesn't mean we don't, but sometimes you need that. And late last year, I decided to start the WrestleLife.com, which is pretty much the natural progression of Hangs with Bob. So now Hangs with Bob, that company kind of resides under the WrestleLife.com. And the WrestleLife.com is my online community, as you know. And we teach independent wrestlers how to run their business better to make the business better. In other words, we help them make more money, have more fun, connect with more people, serve their audience better, and grow their business and grow their brand so they can be much more meaningful in this business. And I think there's no other time in history where the playing field has been leveled enough with social media and pretty inexpensive ways to reach a lot of people through advertising and the internet where we can do that. So that's who Brutal Bob Evans is. And that's where I'm today. I'm 29 years into this business. I have a beautiful wife, 2 beautiful kids. I still like to see him once in a while. So I don't envision myself doing wrestling full time on the road, brother, 200 days a year and all that. But I do it enough to make it probably qualify for full-time work, but I'll never call it a full-time work. If I work wrestling 90, 100 hours a week, I'll still call it a part-time hustle just because it's good for my brain to keep it that way.
No doubt, no doubt. But then, if it's fun, is it really a job at that point? Like,
well, that was the thing that it's funny that you bring that up, Cliff, because that's what happened to me in 2018. I felt some sort of, I don't know if it was inward pressure or outward pressure to, well, you're making enough money at this, Bob, to make it like a real job. So why don't you try to make it a real job? So I was working as a supervisor, a distribution supervisor for a newspaper where I'd make sure all the routes get out and all the drivers get out and stuff like that. And it was newspapers obviously is a dying business, print media. So my hours were getting cut anyway. So I said, well, let me just follow this kind of the natural life cycle and let me see if I can do wrestling for a job. Well, what happened, Cliff, is when I started qualifying wrestling as a job, like it is motivated anymore. It was like it was like getting sent to clean my room and clean out the garage and wash the dishes. It seemed like another chore. So what happened was I sunk back into my gambling addiction. I had managed to be clean for a couple of years. Now I'm been clean for 832 days, over 2 years. But I needed the structure of some sort of something to go to. Now basically what I did is I just started up a courier business where I work and deliver medicine to nursing homes. But still, it's what I'm doing right now as I'm talking to you. That's why you guys can't see my beautiful face on here. But it's what I do almost every day. And I do that part-time, sometimes full-time, overnights. And it gives my family enough money to supply them with that while I can do my wrestling stuff during the day. And then I take my weekends off for wrestling and stuff. But man, I was really struggling with the whole concept of wrestling as a job, quote unquote. So, but once I kind of put it in its proper place again, man, it was fun again. And I started to feel the mojo again. I started to feel much more satisfied with where I was. And I think I'm in a good place now. I think I finally figured it out. But that was really also the thing that finally triggered the WrestleLife.com stuff, because there's a lot more people that do this part-time and are trying to figure out how to make it work within their life than people that are in national companies. Now, I'm not saying you can't be somebody in a national company, but what I'm saying is we all have to start somewhere, and we all have to start getting ourselves out there. And plus, as you know, I mean, you've been studying this like I have, NXT, Ring of Honor, WWE, Impact, AEW, MLW, New Japan. They basically want to, they're big corporations that want to buy you and do a takeover and buy you and bring you into their company. Right. So in other words, it's basically, they want to make you a part of their company instead of you being your own. So what you have to do is build your brand big enough, build your business big enough where WWE buys you, or at least leases you for a while. A couple of years, and they take following, and hopefully they'll be bringing whatever company you're working for. So that's older than the average player who is super good. My kids teach me more about TikTok and all that stuff, but it's still good to keep track of the trends and good to keep kind of on that stuff, because that's where everybody is these days. So that's kind of where I sat, as far as a job and all that good stuff. So.
Right. No, I mean, you have it right. Like, I know for me, like, once I like started like really like enjoying this podcast was when I like had a structure to it, and I was just like, I'm going to do this every, I might even do like 4 or 5 recordings like a week, and then you'll just see it come out 2 or 3 pieces at a time, and then just go through and just enjoy like going back and listening to it, writing, just reviewing, just like hearing people's notes, and then just like, continuing to grow inside a business. But you're right, you got to kind of control like when you do it, because like if you let it run rampant, it'll just take over your entire life, and you just feel like you're just sucked into the world.
Yeah, and I just it was one of those things where I don't know, my brain just kind of rejected it. I found myself just sitting around not doing anything, and that's not me.
Right.
So it was funny, but I had a talk with a couple of people who are pretty big influencers in this business, and they completely got where I was coming from. They said, "Oh yeah, we felt that way a lot of times. That's one of the reasons why we didn't go full time." And they're making, I don't want to mention their names because they didn't give me permission, but people that are making pretty good incomes in wrestling, people that do wrestling for a living, but that don't necessarily do it for the big leagues, they kind of feel the same way. I think you have to qualify it somehow in your brain. And I also think that for a long time, we've been dealing with the notion, and I'm sure you've heard this too, maybe even it's been brought up in your podcast by certain people, but if you're not winning the belt against Drew McIntyre at WrestleMania, you're a bum. And, everybody in wrestling in independent wrestling is broke and a carny and isn't educated and a redneck. And, it's just not that. There's so many diverse people in wrestling, just like every other business, every other situation. It's so difficult to hold up that actual notion and that actual stereotype because to scrutiny, because I haven't seen, I've seen my share of rednecks and people like that and shady characters, but really I would say a great majority of them are good people just trying to figure it out, trying to wrestle, and again, trying to balance their lives, make it work, make a couple extra bucks at it, maybe make a few more than an extra bucks at it, make a little business out of it, and just get to the next town and, just again, not sacrifice family relationships and not sacrifice other things they like to do.
Right. No, you got a point there. I know, like, even for me, like this podcast really just got started because I was like, I'm interested in like talking to people and getting advice. And then, it's just, I don't know, to me, it's just like a lot of fun to do this part-time and just get to just meet new people all the time. So I definitely understand. And I understand the aspect of like leaving things like open where like I just want a day where I can just relax and chill out, or I can go to a wrestling show and meet a promoter, talk to them, possibly get put on their show and, work. So I don't know. I enjoy this, and I love that this is like my side hustle. So I definitely understand where you're going with it.
Yes, sir.
So I guess we kind of also talked about like my next question was going to be like, what's the hardest thing that you've learned? But clearly we've already kind of covered that, where you're talking about, putting things in its place and giving it the right label. Otherwise, like things will continue to grow and manifest.
Well, let me give you another one then. I'll give you another hardest thing, because I talked a lot about this because there was a gentleman that I rode with this week called Tony Spencer, and Tony Spencer I've known in the New England Independents since he started 15 years ago, and we get along great now. Very good friends now. We became a lot closer over the weekend. This is one of Tony's first big trips outside of New England, and I gave him a lot of credit for it. And but we managed to there wasn't really heat between us, but I didn't treat him that well early, and I try to go back and analyze why. And it's not really, it's a regret to a certain degree, but it's really more, let's analyze it and let's make it better. And I just said, a lot of these people that I had heat with years ago are people that I just should have reached out to more. I should have helped more. Now I don't really have an elitist attitude, or they're not with the good promotion, quote unquote, good promotion in New England. So I'm not going to waste my time with them. They don't want my help anyway. They're bums, they're backyarders, whatever the the word of the moment is there, whatever it is. But I just think that the biggest thing I should have learned a long time ago was the fact that there's more than one way to do things, and really kind of join people in the conversation where they are instead of where you want them to be. Because I would always try to make people in my image. And I really just had to figure out a way to make people better versions of who they are, not better versions of who I want them to be. So that was really difficult for me. And I probably only really nailed that and really focused in on that maybe the last 5 or 6 years, really. I mean, which, it's crazy because I was wrestling and teaching for years before that, but zoning in and trying to realize that this, the selflessness of trying to, even if it's not something that you're into, even if it's not your kind of wrestling, well, hey man, this isn't really my thing, but what about doing this? This is what your gimmick would do. This is what your character would do. And helping these people where they are in their, with their stuff, not you're terrible, quit the business. I don't like hardcore wrestling. I don't like comedy wrestling. I don't like this kind of wrestling. Instead of that, why don't you figure out how to make them better and how they can do that? If you're trying to make a hardcore wrestler into Dean Malenko or a comedy wrestler into a hardcore wrestler or vice versa, it's not really going to work. But if you just say, well, hey, I can help you clean this up or do this a little, with hardcore wrestling, my biggest thing is safety. And I have them teach me about safety, what's safe, what's not safe. I'm good buddies with Matt Tremont. I've sat down with Matt Tremont and I've said, what's dangerous and what's not, what looks dangerous and what really is dangerous, that kind of stuff. So I can make suggestions, educate myself on the process. I didn't run up to Matt Tremont and go, I hate hardcore wrestling, learn how to work, quit the business. Like stuff like that isn't really very productive. And plus he's not going to do it anyway. And plus he's bigger than me. So, so it's not going to work anyway. So, I mean, I'm not a huge fan of hardcore wrestling. I've done a couple of hardcore matches before and they were fun, but it's not really my style. But I'm also not going to, waste 6 hours of my time protesting against it and post about business, because whatever I write, it's not going to work anyway.
No, I mean, that's a fair point. That's something that so me being a wrestling fan, I was one of those guys that grew up watching WWE and then slowly found WCW and then started watching ECW. And I just wasn't really big into the whole hardcore deathmatch kind of scene. But I find myself and I say this the past few months, just appreciating the art of what deathmatch wrestling brings to the scene. And I still question some things. I'm just I don't understand that part, but I don't go out of my way to be that's dumb. This is the worst thing. I never say that. I'm always I'm intrigued by a little bit more, and I ask questions about why certain things were done. And crazy enough, one of Matt Tremont's students is actually a good friend of mine, Mason Martin. And so I go to him a lot, and I'm just all right, why was this done this way? Or why does that happen? So I kind of feel exactly where you come from when you're just you're not really questioning everybody. You're just questioning to understand. So that way, if you need to help somebody in the future, you kind of have that knowledge already of what to expect.
Yeah. And 3 of the most powerful words strung together in a sentence in the English language are help me understand. And that's why I sit and I say, help me understand this. What are you guys trying to do? Am I freaking out? And there have been times where I've freaked out and yelled at people for hurting people, and they insist that they're not. Mm-hmm. So, it wasn't necessarily hardcore stuff. That's more transitioning into moves and things like that, where I really thought somebody got hurt. Oh, I'm fine. We had an issue recently with something as simple as a chin lock. There was a guy who'd been around a little while, and he put a chin lock on a guy, and it was really snug. He was cutting the guy's wind off. And I said something to him. And then I said, now he's going to put it on. Now the guy that you just did that to, who was actually kind of mad. Then I said, well, getting mad about it isn't going to do anything. I said, put it on him. I said, reverse positions. Now put it on him. And I said, if you put it on him any stiffer, then we're going to have a problem. I said, I just want you to show him what he's doing to you. And he put it on him, and the guy's like, yeah, that's quite a bit, more than I thought I was doing it to him. And I said, yeah. And now we can learn from it. Right. I said, but if you just yell and scream and learn how to work or beat the guy up or and it was getting it was getting tenuous in there where the guy was about to say, if you do it one more time like that, I'm going to punch you in the face. And, it's kind of funny and we laugh at it. And it's like, yeah, man, like the guy should have known better and this and that, because the guy had been around a while. But in his defense, to a small degree, if he's the guy who's been around a while, then rookies and young guys are going to have trouble coming up to him and saying, hey, man, you hurt me with the chin lock, because maybe they think that's how it's supposed to be. Mm-hmm. Or maybe they respect him and they don't want to embarrass him, or they don't want to get, maybe the guy won't receive it well from them. But so, I mean, you can get hurt with coming back to the point, you can get hurt with the smallest amount of pressure on you. So that's why we are always trying to look out for each other, looking for safer ways to do things. And, I think the next wave of CTE data, now I don't know this isn't a prediction. This is more like a warning, but I think the next role of CTE, research is going to show that you get a lot more damage from not that many shots to the head. And I keep telling people, I said, these forearms and stuff like that, where you guys are railing on each other, I said, what happens if WWE just outlaw shots to the head? Not just chair shots to the head, but what if they outlaw like fists to the head and all this? You're going to have to almost learn how to do like movie punches. Well, I'm not saying that we should be doing that now, but I'm saying we should really be trying to take good care of each other and not be smashing each other with every move to the face and head, because you can get your bell rung just like that with moves, never mind chairs.
Right. So
it's really just, there's an art form to this, as you well know. And I'm not saying that in any kind of, I'm not giving anybody the high hat when I say that. I'm not trying to be elitist, but really like ask people, does this hurt? Am I hurting you? Be honest with me. You won't hurt my feelings, because you don't want to get to like a big promotion or somebody's watching you like this gentleman did recently with me. And, I've been around this quite a while and this and that. And he's killing people with chin locks, right? Because it makes me think, like, what else is he hurting people with? Now that might be the only thing, but we don't know. And now I'm like, it puts a question mark on his experience level, because the guy was pretty good otherwise, but still it makes me think twice about, is he, what's he doing to everybody else? Is everything else done with control? Is everything else done with care? I've worked hard to have a reputation of not hurting people, but I've also said, if somebody says, hey, yeah, you kind of got me with this, or this was kind of tight or whatever, I just, I take that in mind. I don't get offended by it, but I take the feedback and I roll with it.
Right. No. I mean, that's awesome though. And I think when people, it's funny because you mentioned like chokehold, like chin locks, right? I know, I think there's like studies now that are coming out that are talking about like people who get put to sleep by submissions, right? So like and I know like for us, we like are careful, but anybody who gets put in like a chin lock for like up to like 7 seconds, like can pass out. And I guess like the newest studies that are coming out is that those chokeholds are actually causing CTE as well. So like pretty much like you gotta know like what's going on, because at any given time something can happen like that, and it's not like they fall asleep and just like hit the ground. No, just the lack of flow of blood, lack of blood flow to the brain can also cause that as well. So it is, you got to really take care of your person, and I'm glad you said that too, because it's something like I'm gonna just start doing now, like at training. Just like if I hit somebody with something, I'm just gonna be like, hey man, like be honest, like is it too heavy? Is it not heavy enough? Like what can I do to be better? So I definitely
and watch your stuff, of course, and watch your stuff on video, because a lot of the stuff that you're hammering people with, thinking it's, I'm laying it in, and I overheard some guys, and I had never seen these guys before. They were older guys, and they said, hey man, I just hit the guy with the forearm as hard as I can until he tells me it's too stiff. And I'm like, I don't know. I don't subscribe to that theory.
Yeah.
I go, really? Because and I didn't know the guy, so I wasn't going to be sarcastic with him, because he was a bit older than me, and I respect my elders and my standing in the locker room. I was my first time there, and even though people are kind and give me a certain amount of standing, I still respect the people that came before me. So I didn't say this, but normally what I say is I go, really, I miss with my forearms, and I guarantee they look better than yours. And yeah, that's where I'm kind of like holding it over the head and playing a little dunking on him in street basketball a little bit, and I'm kind of talking trash, but I worked really hard to make my stuff not touch people and look great. So that's, but I also watched it on tape. I would analyze it, what looks good, what doesn't. So you have to kind of be tough on yourself. And again, there's an art to this. And, it's always good to get feedback so you can move forward. You don't get feedback. Look, if they tell you it's great and it doesn't hurt, that's awesome. But if they tell you it does, take that into consideration. And it's okay to get a second opinion, because it might be somebody who, again, this isn't ballet either. I mean, one little tight shot doesn't mean somebody's stiffing you. If they're just creaming you, excuse me, then that's one thing. But you have to kind of, we have to still live in the real world, and we have to realize there is going to be some physical contact here. But I would say probably 70-80% of the time, you can lighten up stuff. You can just make it look snappier without killing people. There's a lot of ways you can do it without taking the magic away from the fans.
Right. No, you're definitely right. You're definitely right about that. So I'm curious though, like we're talking about like kind of the hardest hits. I'm very curious. What's the hardest you've ever been hit?
Oh, geez. Here's one that it's going to sound like I'm name dropping, but I worked as an extra, but this really is as hard as I was hit. I almost got knocked out. We were booked as extras for Backlash, I think in 2009. And it was a show where Steamboat got the singles match against Jericho after him, Snuka, and Piper wrestled Jericho in, the 3-on-1 match.
Yeah.
And Steamboat did so well, and then they gave him a singles match, and it was in Providence, which is right down the street. And yeah, it was cool. Providence, I believe. So, but the main event was John Cena and Edge. I think it was the last man standing match. And the whole thing was we sat ringside because we were playing quote unquote fans. There were 6 of us,
right?
Like a 2x3 block. And we sat there, and the reason they put us there is because John was going to do the FU. He's going to FU Edge into the crowd, kill all the fans. And we were the fans he was going to kill. Well, Edge, Edge is, a trim lad. He's got a thin body type, so there's not a lot of fat on him. Even when he gets fat, he's not fat. And then he's a tall man, which means he has lots of whip when he whips around. And his hip bone is like another skull. So basically, John Cena threw him on top of us, and Edge's hip bone and butt hit me right in the head and almost knocked me out. So that was probably the hardest I was ever hit.
Oh, no.
Yep. So, and, it helped me sell, that's for sure. Sold for a long time. And, that was pretty crazy. But, that was probably the hardest I was hit, as working as an extra. Only time I got hurt in the WWE circumstance. I can't say WWE ring because I was outside the ring, but and I didn't really get hurt. I was fine. I didn't get knocked out, but yeah, that was it. I wasn't much for taking a lot of air shots or landing high on my head and neck, so I don't think I've gotten too many concussions. Thank goodness. I've gotten a couple, but not too many. So I've been fortunate that way. And really, the way I wrestle now, I don't take a lot of unnecessary bumps now anyway. So, because I'm getting older and I'm still heavy, I want to lose a little bit more weight. So I'm heavier than I want to be. So I have been in the gym, which is good. I've been in the gym solid since we came back. My gym opened up in Rhode Island June 1st, and I've been in there pretty solid 3-4 times a week since last year. So that's been good. So I'm strong, I'm healthy, but I could be losing some weight, and that would probably really help me going. But the first few matches back, I've had pretty good wins. No problems with blowing up, which is great. And but that was the hardest I've been hit. So from Edge's bum.
Well, then we're gonna go from being hardest hit by somebody else's bump. What about your worst bump?
Mine was probably, let me see. I can tell you right now, I did a Frankensteiner off the top rope and mistimed it. And then I dragged my head right across the bottom of the ring. In other words, I needed 2 inches more clearance and didn't get it. So I gave somebody a Frankenstein, last Frankenstein off the top rope I ever did. And my opponent did nothing wrong. I did nothing wrong. I just miscalculated the height of the ring and smashed my head that way. So yeah, I almost broke my neck. That was probably one of my few concussions right there. Gave myself a pretty good whiplash. Went to the emergency room because my mom and my wife, my ex-wife now, but my wife at the time, were very adamant I go to the emergency room. So I did. But that was that was that was a while ago. That was probably 2000. So that was I think that was the worst bump.
Yeah, that doesn't sound fun at all. Like at
no,
all.
sir.
So I know
Nope.
I've been learning this lesson here like the last few months, right? That a lot of wrestlers don't like to eat before the show, but they have like that big post-match meal or even like a great post-match snack like after their match. So I'm very curious about what's your post-match snack or post-match meal?
Well, let's see. This past week we were looking. We always try to go somewhere local if we can, and if we can't go somewhere local, we try to at least go to somewhere like a regional place. We can't go somewhere at home.
Mhm.
So we were trying to find some places in Ohio, but everything was kind of closed pretty early. So we ended up going to Denny's. And let's see, what did I have at Denny's? I had the bourbon burger with some nice onion rings and a cup of coffee and a water. But usually, or we'll go to Applebee's because Applebee's has pretty good sized food, pretty cheap. So we'll do that. If we're down south, we'll go to Cookout because Cookout is open till 2 or 3 a.m. And if everybody who knows what Cookout is on your podcast is cheering wildly right now, and everybody who doesn't know what Cookout is, it's basically a fast food place, but they have real, it's quality stuff. It's kind of like a Greasy Spoon drive-through place, but it's quality stuff. And you can get a platter and you get 3 items on the platter, and they have really good shakes, and you can put like 6 things in the shake. You kind of build your own shake. And they're kind of known for that. And it's dirt cheap. So that's one of the reasons why I always volunteer to pay for the last meal as we're leaving, because it's, 4 people and you can probably get away with $30, which is great. So, and then there's always, if you're coming south to north or west to east, you can usually hit a Sheetz or a Wawa. I'm a Sheetz man, if anybody asks. And we hit a couple Sheetz on the way. And you can get food made to order, MTO, made to order, and they have all kinds of menu items, and you just punch it into the little screen there. You can do it on Wawa. Wawa's good, but it's 1 and 1A for it's 1 and 2 for me. Sheetz and Wawa. QT does this too. Not QT Marshall. Not QT. He doesn't make food for us, but QT is another. I think it's called QuickTime. They're another one that makes food 24 hours. So those are the places that we usually hit. And you can get your gas and, your energy drinks or your water or snacks or whatever. So as snacks go, candy, I'm a Reese's Pieces man. As chips go, I'll usually get, let's see, pretzels or combos. I'm usually a combos guy. So now I'm figuring out, Clifford, why I have all this extra weight. See, now that I analyze my post-match rituals, it's probably why I'm a guy who has a few pounds on him. So, and I'm a gum guy. I chew a lot of gum. I have cough drops in my mouth now because if I didn't, I'd be sounding like a gravelly voiced, even older than I am now because I have a cold. The Jermies have, every time I go out on a trip now, the last 3 trips I've had, I've gotten a cold since I came back because the Jermies aren't used to me right now. So everybody's got new Jermies that they're spitting out. So I'm fully vaccinated from the COVID, but I've gotten colds the last 3 times I've been going out for road trips. So I think it's kind of like, 6 to 1, half a dozen of another.
Facts. I understand that.
Uh-huh.
So aside from, picking up some new germs, I'm just very curious, like, what kind of advice would you give to up and coming wrestlers?
Well, let's see. Realize that this is a business, and that's not me yelling and screaming saying, realize this is a business. That's not what I mean. I mean, start keeping your numbers. Realize there's accounting in this business. Now, both college accounting courses I took, Cliff, I got D minuses in. So please don't take too much accounting advice from me. But we can take this much accounting advice, right? So if you go on a trip, you can always write down your expenses, right? I spent $30 in gas. I bought $10 worth of food. I paid $5 in tolls, whatever it is. And you made $10. So with all that added up, I think that's $45 on the expense side, $10 on the, so you made negative $35. So the idea is to figure out where you are. Figure out where you are so you can make it better. First thing I would say to young wrestlers is, first of all, I think the easiest stuff we can, I think we're all assuming that we're going to a good wrestling school, we're eating right, we're going to the gym, we're training properly, we're training for cardio, we're doing all, we're keeping our job up, we're keeping our school up, we're not, being a criminal and messing with people and robbing banks and all that. So we're get all that stuff out of the way first. And then the next thing would be, I would tell young wrestlers to jump in the car with older wrestlers or even other younger wrestlers. Just jump in the car, go travel, go see places, especially when you're young. I made the mistake of not doing this as much when I was younger. I've done it a lot more now. I've traveled in my 40s way more than I have combined in my teens, 20s, and 30s wrestling. And, I used to pick on, I'll be honest, I used to pick on the guys who traveled. And I said, oh, they're marks, they're traveling for $50. They're traveling, they're all driving. Who wants to drive all that way? Well, a lot of those guys now are making six figures in wrestling. So not everybody, obviously, but a lot of those guys have made some great, great money in wrestling. And it was all because they traveled and sought opportunities. You have to be a seeker. You have to be a seeker of knowledge, a seeker of opportunities. It's all well to say right place, right time, but to be in the right place in the right time, you have to go to the right place at the right time too. So be there, be available, bring your stuff. Don't be afraid to set up a ring. Don't be afraid to sweep the floor. If somebody tells you to go on a coffee run, you go on a coffee run because they'll probably buy you a free coffee. So, and then somebody needs to be picked up at the airport, go pick somebody up at the airport. Don't be afraid to do these things. Oh, I don't want to kiss butt. And you're just serving the company that you want to work for. There's nothing wrong with that. And the economy of wrestling, you have to be very, very smart about it, very wise about it. Look at the economy of wrestling. Most of the places that we wrestle, Cliff, and I'm sure people that aren't going to a lot of independent shows are between, especially these days with some regulations. I know they're lifting most of the regulations now, but it's between 50 and 500 people, with more on probably the 50 to 200 people. Well, even if they charge $15 a ticket, that's $3,000 budget. So they're not going to be paying everybody $500 plus plane and hotel. So stop looking for that right now and just look at how you can figure out a way to leverage your money. And if they pay you $25, figure out how you can leverage that. Can I bring merchandise? Can I sell photos? Can I sell shirts? Can I sell, can I get on podcasts? Can I, you have a podcast, so can you go and not only maybe perform on a show, but can you, offer a podcast point of view? Hey, I recorded these interviews with some of the guys on the show, and it provides a different perspective. It might only be 20 minutes. Hey, I sat down with Teddy Long for 10 minutes and I asked him, the three things he would do if he was a young wrestler today. And one of them was awesome. And it was just, something I never thought of. We have to take advantage of these situations and do what we can do and realize that the money will come later. Build a nice foundation for yourself. This is one of the few businesses, Cliff, where as soon as you walk through the door, you're expected to be a professional. And I don't mean a professional as far as acting right and, dressing right and showing up on time. I mean, of course, that kind of professional, but it's the only business I know where you're expected to be a professional as far as know everything right away, know the ins and outs, and make money the first day. Because in most places, as far as I know, when you're a baseball player, you have T-ball league, little league, Babe Ruth league, high school, college, and then minor leagues, and then major leagues. There's nothing like that in wrestling right now. I mean, maybe NXT and things like that, and certain things, but there's not anything as far as, you know, elementary school wrestling aside from wrestling school, pro wrestling school. But really, you have to kind of create your own internship, and you have to create those situations. And guys, I know there's a few guys that have been coming out, and to me, I'm not going to name names, but I think it's very hypocritical for older guys to say, know your worth and this and that, when they already make their money in wrestling. And these are the same guys that I broke in with about the same time, that I remember working for free plenty of times back in the day. And they somehow forgotten that. And now they want young wrestlers to just hold out for $100. Right. Plus, this whole don't work for free, you should be paid. I understand that. And I want people to be paid. I'm not saying work for free, you get taken advantage of. I'm saying work for free so you get paid later. And plus, if you're driving 15 hours, isn't $20 basically free anyway? I mean, it's not like it's going to cover anything. It's going to cover a little bit of gas, but is $20 really going to make or break the difference? Oh, I got paid $20, so I'm a pro now. I mean, that's just, it's, I think we're getting tied up in semantics and pride instead of just doing what it takes to get on the hustle, get going, learn what you have to learn in the business. You know, because another thing they say is, well, are they going to take care of my medical bills? And $20 is not going to take care of your medical bills. I have a friend right now. He has $133,000 worth of medical bills. I don't think he's worried about a $20 bill affecting his life one way or another. So I don't think it's, I think we're getting tied up in the whole free versus paid thing. Don't get taken advantage of. If you went and set up somebody's ring 5 shows in a row and you get thrown out third in the battle royal one time and they never use you again. Yeah, you're probably being taken advantage, and I wouldn't do that. Right. But, you know, I mean, you know, as well as I do, a lot of times you'll go to a show, they'll use you, and then they'll start using you again. And independent wrestling being what it is, 1 month you're setting up the ring, and 4 months later you win in the belt, and you have a nice, good run there where you're there for a year and a half, and you make good money and sell some shirts and sell some pictures and really build up that wrestling experience and start doing well in another territory. But if you don't show up and you don't do those things, how are you ever going to put yourself in position to win? So as a young wrestler, I would be like, don't be afraid to get out there. Don't be afraid to drive. Watch your money very carefully. Budget yourself. And in the beginning, you might have to get another job. You might have to work out different hours. You might have to do some, pick up a job. There's plenty of high grass to be cut. There's plenty of shovels there's plenty of snow to be shoveled. There's plenty of hedges to be trimmed. There's plenty of work out there right now. I mean, I see help wanted signs everywhere. So if you can work 10 extra hours and make $10 an hour after taxes, $70-$80 after a month, you have enough for a plane ticket or enough for a car ride somewhere. And people say, well, why would you recommend that? I mean, they shouldn't be spending their own money. I go, every single successful entrepreneur I know of said, I mean, aside from getting bank loans and stuff, they said, well, I saved up enough money where I could buy my own barbershop. I saved up enough money where I could buy my own restaurant, buy my own law firm, whatever it was, or go to law school and then become a lawyer. And I saved up that money by working my way through school. And then I, bought into a partnership or something. So why is this so, everybody seems so not everybody, but many seem so upset about when I bring that up. And I don't understand why, because it seems pretty elementary, there we go, to me, that this is how you do it. And again, it's investing now, sweat equity, and a little bit of money to make more money later.
No, you're right. You're right. If that's something I hear consistently is, put the sweat in now to get what you want later. And I'm a firm believer in that, being a person that I was in the military, and I had to
thank you for your service.
Thank you. I had to grind and work and push and pull and fight to get everything that I wanted in the service. And I definitely believe that, like, all my hard work paid off. And then, like, I think the other part too is what people forget is that, like, you'd be surprised how would I say this word? This is probably not the right word to say, but genuality will get you. Like, if you go somewhere and you just go in there with the expectations like, hey, I'm not going to get really anything, but I'm just going to keep being me and just be a nice guy or be a nice person. and you'd be surprised what comes out of that situation.
Well, I think you're talking about being a person of character or a person of integrity,
Yeah.
being a sincere person, a person who's there just, hey, I want to be a part of this company someday. So I'm here to set up the ring. I'm here to, pour the Cokes, pop the popcorn, take the jackets. I have a referee shirt in my bag. I'll referee a match for you if you need me to, whatever you need me to do. But eventually I'm going to wrestle here because I'm going to do everything it takes to become a wrestler here.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So, what's this about these 10 questions you're going to ask me? I'm scared. You told me I had 10 questions in front of me and you were going to like rattle them off. And I'm all scared now because I'm scared of what these 10 questions are.
Oh, no. I have one last question before we jump into the second greatest segment.
Oh, so now you're going to like prolong the agony now. Is this what it is?
We got to drain the slow. We got to wait patient. You know all about that. Like when you tell stories, you don't just like get to the end. You just work to the peak.
I've been known I could tell a story or two, so I get it.
So for me, my big one last question before we jump into those.
Sure,
questions.
of course.
I just need one do and one don't of the locker room.
Let's see. One do of the locker room is, and this isn't necessarily the whole shake the hands or you get heat. You gotta, the heat machine will come get you if you don't shake hands and all that. That's just dumb. But be open. Try not to be cliquey in the locker room if you can. Obviously, there's going to be a circle of friends that you're going to hang out with more, but put yourself in the middle of the locker room if you can. Especially a new one. Ask people questions. Where are you from? What do you do? What do you do for work? What do you do? Be sincerely and genuine and be really curious about what they're up to, and also like, where are you from? If they're from a different area. Oh, is it busy there wrestling wise? Like who runs there? Do you guys wrestle a lot in your area? Ask those questions. That's what networking is. Again, it's not, hey, can you get me booked? That's a little strong, but we can ask questions that help us with our own research. Oh, I'm from upstate, Texas near Texoma on the Oklahoma border. Okay, well, who runs there? Well, we work for a guy and he runs Texoma Pro Wrestling and, pretty much every once a month. And, his name is Rob. He's a good guy. And okay. And then I'm going to reach out to Rob and I'm going to, hey, the guys in the locker room in Baltimore came here and they were really cool and they were good talent, good workers. And, they told me I'm going to be in Texas next month. And I heard you guys run a show and it just happens. I'm going to be in Texas that weekend and you have a Friday show. And it's a big icebreaker if you reach out like that, rather than, hey, can you get me booked? It's no, I can't get you booked. You can get yourself booked. and so that's one thing. And obviously clean up after yourself and do all the stuff that we've been taught. A don't in the locker room is it's the flip side of that. Don't put yourself, don't flip. Well, first of all, don't flip out if a match goes bad. I've done that plenty of times and it never makes you look good. Don't start fights, that kind of stuff. And don't, there was a guy riding a bike on the highway on the wrong side of the road. That was a bad idea. Jeez, I almost hit him.
Don't do that.
Don't do that in the locker room. Don't do that at all, ever, in any circumstance. Yeah. But don't shut yourself off. Don't just sit there like a lump. Again, I think people this is a sales business. We have to sell ourselves. We have to talk to people, make connections. And I know it's not always easy for people, but that's not an excuse not to do it. First of all, it gets easier with practice. It's a skill. Just start asking questions about people. Ask them about them. Don't worry about you. That'll come up, but ask them about them. So really it's make yourself available, make yourself open, reach out to people, connect with people. And I mean, man, we've been locked up for 16 months. Wouldn't it be nice to connect with more people, have more friends, make more friends?
Make more friends.
Yeah. And then the biggest thing is on the negative to not do in the locker room is just don't shut yourself off. Don't leave it a mess. I don't like messy locker rooms. I'm a messy guy, but I don't like messy locker rooms. And don't talk crap about people. If you got something to say, the gossip. We all do the gossip stuff. I'm not one of these guys that, I never talk. I talk smack about everybody. I try not to talk as much smack about everybody, but don't say anything in the locker room that you wouldn't say to them to their face.
Right.
I saw an example of that recently at a show, and it really made me lose respect for the people, because they could have just reached out to the young person in the match, but they just wanted to kind of dog him. And then when he came back, they had nothing to say. So I brought it up to him, and he appreciated the advice. It wasn't anything that would have led to hurt feelings or anything. It was just something that he needed to work on. And I said, yeah, man, work on this. I saw this. And I said, and what I always tell guys, I get on their side too. And I say, when you watch it on video, you'll believe me. You won't like it either, because you won't like what it looked like. And they go, oh, okay. And it helps them kind of realize that, I'm telling them that the thing didn't look good, so don't do it again. And he seemed to appreciate it. So I don't know why. I guess it's just laziness, or I guess you just want to be negative, or just show that you maybe know how to do things a little bit better, even though they didn't. Their match was really bad. And the kid that made the mistake, his match was way better than theirs. But yeah, I just, don't say anything in the locker room that you wouldn't say. If there's something you want to gossip about, hey, pass the time, with a girl, or, this guy dating this one, or this guy, that kind of stuff. If you want to be a little gossipy, it's going to happen anyway. It's human nature. Just do it in the car on the way home. Don't do it there. Don't post it anywhere. Don't do that stuff,
Yeah, I learned that. I learned that lesson. I learned that, not me personally, because I make a lot of my own mistakes. But what I do value is that it was something I heard in a speech by a guy at at my college. He said, he's like, foolish men learn from their mistakes, while wise men learn from the mistakes of others. And I watched someone make a mistake, and I was like, well, I know that's definitely not something I'm gonna do. So.
And sometimes you're the fool, and sometimes you're the wise man. I'm usually both, because I've made enough mistakes to teach a class, and oh boy, I actually do teach a class about that. So there you go.
There you go.
So,
All right. Well, those are like all my big, heavy, hard-hitting questions. So we're going to get into the second best segment.
All right.
And you're probably trying to figure out what the first one is. And that's the Red Dogs Power Rankings that you can find on the Sunday debate shows, or you can actually find those on Monday on TikTok and on, Instagram at 3
Oh boy.
That's where they're at. But this is time for the 3 Count Podcast 10 count questions. Mr. Evans, this is how it works. I'm going to fire off 10 questions at you rapid fast, and whatever first comes to mind, that is your answer.
All right. Let me warm up a little bit. Okay, I'm ready to go.
All right, so we're going to start off with we're going to put the imaginary timer for added pressure.
Oh boy.
Bing! And here we go. SmackDown or Raw?
SmackDown.
Favorite color?
Blue.
Pedroia or Ortiz?
Ooh, Ortiz.
I was like, oh, this is going to get it. Favorite movie?
Favorite movie, Rudy.
Water fountain or Bubbler?
Water fountain. I hate Bubbler. Hate the name.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I tell people that. Favorite ice cream place?
Favorite ice cream place. Let's see. Oh boy, Somerset Creamery in Somerset, Massachusetts.
I love the creamery.
Mm-hmm. There you go.
Starbucks or Dunkin's?
Dunkin's.
All right. Favorite podcast?
Favorite podcast these days? Let's see. Probably What Happened When with Tony Schiavone and my buddy Conrad.
I love both of them.
Yours is second though.
Hey, I'll take that.
Yep.
Nominate one person that you want to see on this podcast.
Nominate one person I want to see on this podcast is how about Mike Bennett?
I would love to have Mike Bennett on here. And then last but not least, my favorite question to ask every single person who comes on this show. Favorite curse word?
Oh, favorite curse. Let's see. Well, Mom, forgive me, but probably cocksucker. Except you really can't say that these days for 2021. But one of my gay friends said, now I'm going to get salty. Uncle Bob's going to get salty here for a minute. So cover your ears. See, he said you can cover your bases and still have it in 2021. He said that he will allow lousy cocksucker, because that could mean that you're a lousy cocksucker, or a lousy cocksucker. And that's as far as I'm going to go with it. I'll let you guys figure out the rest. But yeah,
I love it.
yes. So that's the only way. That's how you can get away with it and still be politically correct, I guess is not the right term, but you won't be canceled. There you go.
It's not that bad. Well, those are all the big heavy questions plus the 10 count questions. So the last thing I need from you, good sir, is
No, though. I don't know. You ain't getting away. So let's do some business, Mr. Wrestle Life member. Let's, for the last couple minutes before I get to my first stop on my courier run here, I got about probably 7-8 minutes. How about a little mini coaching call for you? Let's give you a little bonus. Let's help you. What are you struggling with, Cliff? What's Cliff's next action step that he's tripping over right now or kind of frozen by? What's the next thing to do? What's the next thing to do on the podcast? What's the next thing to do with training? What's the next thing to do in the wrestling business for you, in your wrestling business?
Oh, yeah, for me, the biggest one, well, we'll start with the podcast since we're talking about the podcast.
Okay.
For the podcast, it's getting sponsorships, right? Reaching out to get sponsorships. That's definitely the next step, so that we can budget, we can get more market, we get better marketing, and we can drive the business to the next level. Because as much as you can do by word of mouth, if you're, I've recently been going to different shows in different states and talking about the podcast, as well as getting myself on certain shows and talking to people. So, the podcast is getting out there, and you can only do so much by word of mouth. Eventually you're going to have to drop money into the bucket to get that. And to be real, I don't want to spend my own money. So if I can go earn it through another mean and then bring it in and then put it towards to set advertisement, then that's what's going to be next.
Well, I think the biggest thing you have to do is you have to either give it time or give it money. And right now you don't have a lot of money, so you got to give it time. Yes, word of mouth is slow and steady, but word of mouth is also probably the best form of advertising you can get. You get some of the boys that are going home on road trips and they want to watch something entertaining or watch something that's kind of thought-provoking. I like the questions you asked. You asked differently. Those questions are going to evolve anyway. They're going to change. They're going to change and evolve. Change is just change. Evolve is changing and getting better. So that's the biggest thing you can do is keep that word of mouth going. Have you heard about us? That's such an important question. Have you heard about me? Have you heard about my podcast? Look, I probably talked to 50 people over the weekend that have a podcast, and none of them asked me, have you heard about my podcast? What I also would do, and this has been really effective for the WrestleLife.com stuff, print up a business card with a QR code on it, right? That links right to your podcast. Hey, this is, my most famous one with whoever you have, that's your most famous guy. If it's me, if it's Hulk Hogan, if it's whoever, doesn't matter. And the QR code takes you right to it. And because a lot of times that's how I learn about podcasts. Somebody says something, they have a cool guest on, and then I listen to more episodes. And that's how you get people on. Second thing I would do is, are you familiar with the Wrestling with Johners podcast? JOHNERS?
No, I'm not.
I want you to, all right, so they're a podcast network. Now, I don't need you to join the network or anything. What I want you to do is I want you to follow their page. And I want you to see how many times they post their stuff on social media. They are prolific, right? It's the whole consistent, prolific, relentless CPR method. They are all three. They put out consistent and constant, constant contact, obviously, constant content. They're prolific. In other words, they put it out a lot and they post about it a lot, and they're relentless. They will not give up until you know who they are. So follow them. And that's a good example. I don't mean rip them off. Don't rip off what they're doing. Well, don't rip off their podcast, but rip off their business plan. Right. See what they're doing. See how many times they tag people. See how many times they send stuff out. See how many times you have to let people know. My marketing, I paid for my training, man. I paid a lot of money for my training to figure out all this Wrestle Life business. And my coach, my trainer, his name is Shane Sams. He runs the FlipLifestyle.com website and podcast. And he said, if you think you're offending people about posting, or man, I don't want to post too much. I don't want to annoy people. That's very common. He said, you got to remember that when you post something, you're probably hitting 5% of your audience. And so that means you can post 20 times a day and you probably still won't hit them because you'll repeat people, but you're not going to repeat that many people. If it's that annoying to them, they'll just go buy it. So another thing I would suggest you is get an email list, because what happens if Facebook doesn't like you anymore? What happens if they, Cliff posted a picture of his without a shirt on and people thought it was porn. Some idiot doesn't like you and posted that, and you have a week off. Right. And it's your busiest podcast at the time. You have your best guest on, somebody is, whatever. So, Vince McMahon is going to be on. It's unbelievable that you got him, and now you can't tell anybody about it. But if you have an email list, you can run your own pirate ship, and you can do it that way. So social media is super important, but remember that social media is just, don't ignore the other ways you can reach out to your audience. And then every wrestling show you go on, ask if you can put a flyer on every chair. Do not leave home without your flyers. If you did, go to Staples and print 100 up and make sure they're on all the chairs. I go to wrestling shows all the time and I don't see them. I don't see flyers for podcasts. And don't be afraid to sponsor a wrestling show once in a while. Don't be afraid to have a wrestling show sponsor you. And as far as other sponsors go, man, I'm sure there's 20 people around you that run businesses, different links, different affiliates for national products. A lot of people are doing like the food plans where they do the Freshly kits and things like that, or they're doing supplements, or they're doing all that stuff. Reach out to them, figure out how you can be an affiliate, get your code on there, and just start building it that way, slow and steady. I know Spotify does stuff. I just started podcasting myself, where Spotify does stuff where they give you $15 for everybody that signs up when you do ads for them. And that's one way to do it. And they'll help you. And there are also services that'll go out and help shop for sponsors too. But right now, I don't even think you're big enough yet. So start small and just reach into your community around you and see who's doing national things. I don't mean they necessarily own the business, but if somebody's doing some kind of a, hey, I do this supplement thing or whatever, ask if you can be a part of their link. Hey, I'll split the affiliate money with you. I'll put it on my website. Can you help me with this? Or give me a little bit of money, $50 a week, and I'll put your affiliate link on there. Or maybe somebody runs an eBay store. Or maybe somebody runs, that kind of stuff, an Amazon store. I mean, that kind of stuff. Start small and build, because almost everybody has some kind of a side hustle going on that has some kind of a national reach with affiliate link or something. So ask around. Starts, like I said, whether you look at it. I mean, yeah, you might be able to find somebody paying you $200. When we used to promote shows, we will page ads in the program for $200, but we sell the little business card size ads in the program for $20, $25.
Right.
And we do 10 of those. So that's $250 no matter how you look at it. So just start small, start thinking of ways you can go micro, because podcast business is very segmented, obviously, and it's very micro right now. But if you can get 1,000 people, 10,000 people really following you and loving you, that'll be enough money to get you going. But right. You just have to reach out to those people and make it work. So that's it, man. Like, email lists, start small with your sponsors, look for affiliate links, things like that. And, just be consistent, prolific, and relentless with your social media. And the Wrestling with Johners guys are probably the best example of a podcast that does it. So
definitely have to go check that out and just follow through. And thank you for the advice. I'm going to be utilizing this a lot. So
sure, man. Happy to do it. And it's on tape, so you can, or it's on digital media. There's no such thing as tape anymore, but it's on digital media. You can take notes on it. And, that's, I get a lot of people. Obviously I've been doing a lot of podcasts, so I get a lot of podcast people asking me that advice, and that's pretty much where I am. And, don't be afraid to tell your story too. You're a former military guy, you podcasting, you're going through your wrestling journey. That's exciting. Talk about that.
Yeah, definitely. It's funny too, because you're talking about the wrestling side of things, at least for me, right? I I still train. Like I've been in the business for like 18 months now.
Mhm.
I'm still working. I'm still training. Like I just been in front of my third ever live crowd.
Awesome.
This is the 25th. So on Saturday, this past Saturday,
Sweet.
I was on a live show. Previous to that, May 8th, I was in front of another live crowd, and then with SCWA out of Glendale, West Virginia, and then I was with them back in August. No, I'm sorry, not August. It would have been like October timeframe. But I was with them
Look,
there.
here I am.
Hey,
I stopped. I'm not driving now. So,
but I was with them there, and then so now it's just continued to evolve. Funny thing, like I'm sitting right here with my trusty notebook next to me,
that a boy.
taking notes, and then just keep writing and learning lessons, and then applying those lessons, which is very important. So as much as people want to take notes, apply those notes that you're learning, and so it's just for me now. It's just evolve. Continue to reach out to other organizations, ask them not for a spot, but actually if they have a show coming up. I know, like me and a buddy, we actually went up to New Jersey. We went and helped out with Invictus Pro Wrestling. We just set up the ring. We set up some chairs. We put some names on some tapes for the reserve seatings. And then we just sat back and watched the show. And then we tore everything down and we shook everybody's hands and we left. And then, a couple days ago, I got reached out by that person and the promoter for Invictus. And he was like, hey, like, do you want to come back and hang out with us for a little bit? You can help us again. And then we have a showcase coming up and we want you to be on the showcase. So it's like,
Awesome.
you're right. All those little things matter. And then eventually I'll grow out. I know, like for me, I'm turning 36 this year. I know I don't have like a huge lifespan in the business, but I have been taking care of my body, which was another piece of advice I got from somebody else. And I was like, all right, so I'm gonna be doing more yoga. I'm gonna be doing a lot of lifting, go work, cardio, not take any crazy dumb bumps that I have no idea how to do. So I was like, let me learn all these lessons that people were teaching me about what happened in their journey. And I was like, all right, so I know what not to do. So I'm not as beat up. I am beat up, but I'm not as beat up as I So it's just for me, it's a lot of like asking questions and networking at this point. And then I know like I'll grow quickly in the business. So I was just like, just keep doing what I got to keep doing. And I hear that a lot too. Like if someone tells you to keep doing what you're doing, kind of take it as an insult. And because you don't want to keep doing what you're doing, you want to get better at what you're doing. But at this stage of my career, everybody's told me like, hey, just keep doing what you're doing. You're gonna grow and you're gonna get better in this business really quickly. So it's cool.
Sometimes it can be a blow off, but a lot of times it's actually the only advice they can give you at the time, because if you're doing a lot of the right things, then really it is just to keep doing what you're doing. Maybe do more of what you're doing really would be the biggest thing. But I mean, if you're in the gym, you're working out and you're going to serve different promotions and you're, not ignoring your family and you haven't, quit everything and gone away to join the circus, then I think you're doing everything the right way. So, but I do have to wrap up here. I would love to talk to you even more. Let's do a part 2 sometime, in the next few months, come back on and we'll see how everybody's progress is going. But I have to run. I got stuff to do, man. Part of the wrestlelife.com.
Well, that being said, I was actually going to have you tell our listeners where they can find you.
Sure. Well, for your listeners, I'm more than happy to put my money where my mouth is. And we offer a 14-day trial at thewrestlelife.com. Just go on thewrestlelife.com. There's plenty of banners there. 14-day trial. And I'm not trying to trick you. It's $49 a month after that. I send you a reminder 12 days in to remind you in case you want to cancel. But $49 a month, people ask me, and I tell them, well, it's $49 a month, but isn't it worth $49 a month if I can make you another $500 a month through merchandise, through sales, through market awareness, through, again, a lot of the stuff we talked about today, really digging in, getting more bookings, raising your price on the independents, and also saving a ton of money on the expense side. I can save you $49 a show traveling if you let me. And as you know, I mean, you can speak to this too. I mean, you can witness this, Cliff. I mean, we show people how to travel. I show you how to book a 3-show loop right on there. If you just click your little phone and zip your little phone in, it looks like I'm running your phone for you. And I show you how to book a 2,200 mile 3-show loop and stay in a nice hotel, drive a nice car. And you actually save about 75%. If you do it the right way. We also have one where I show you how to book a flight, because I've had to book like 10 flights for young guys who didn't know how to book a flight. And I do it and show you how to save 15% of the process. And you see me shop around, look for different things, and show you how to do it. Then we have the Hangs with Bob, Wrestle Life blueprint, which is basically me kind of giving you a much deeper version of what we did today, a 6-module set. I do one where I just put down all my notes, and it's the one that I talked about earlier, traveling and making this business work with a family and not ignoring your family. I just put my notes down and speak from the heart, talk about my experiences. We do that. Everybody in our membership gets a Zoom call, kind of like this. It's called Bob and Congo Watch Your Match. Me and my friend Wildman Congo, Mike Medina, who's been with me since day one. Mike has a lot of experience traveling with me, and great veteran, great heel, great monster wrestler. And we'll sit and we'll watch your match. We'll analyze it for up to an hour. I mean, an hour and 15 minutes sometimes. 10-minute match can take an hour. We'll watch it live, we'll watch it, share the screen, and we'll be there with you. We'll talk you through it, what you could have done better, what you could have done differently, different finishes, different spots. We'll suggest that all right there for you. And then we put it out for the membership and for the benefit of their learning too. And I have a couple of those in the can. I actually have to get those edited and sent out, and have Bob and Congo watch a match, which is also where we watch a match from the big guys. Now that's just audio commentary because we don't have the rights to that stuff, but it's audio commentary. You can play it right along. We have Ultimate Warrior and Hulk Hogan. We have, the Midnight Express and the Heavenly Bodies, and the Rock and Roll Express and the Heavenly Bodies. And, my favorite match of all time, Tonga Kid and Jimmy Superfly Snuka versus Roddy Piper and Bob Orton. So we have all kinds of stuff. And we analyze the match and we watch it like older wrestlers are showing us, hey, Bob and Congo, show these guys what we're trying to do. And, we don't put ourselves in the category of those guys, but we definitely try to show you what they were trying to do, the decisions they made, the patience they had to do what they did, try to give you a little bit of a historical thing if we can in the process. So we have that. We also have the community where we have a message board. People communicate, keep each other accountable. We have classes. Congo has a class on gear, of all things. We have 2 social media classes with me and my partner, Tim Hughes, Tough Guy Inc. The 5 do's, like you said, the 5 do's, the locker room do and the locker room don't. This is the 5 do's of social media and the 5 don'ts of social media. So lots of stuff in there, lots of content. And I have a couple of live seminars. I've been trying to tape most of my live work I've been doing, and we're going to put some clips on there too. It's certainly not a substitute for wrestling school, but it certainly will give you a deeper flavor of what I'm trying to teach, psychology wise, and what you can do after a month. But again, I put my money where my mouth is. I'm gonna give you 2 weeks for free, 14 whole days. Nothing is left. Nothing is held back. Nothing's locked up. I get you to go around, look in there, stomp around, break it, turn on the lights, turn off the lights. Just turn off the lights when you're done. That's all I ask. And all I ask is that you give me your information and get you on an email newsletter. And, we send out some news and things like that when new things come out. And that's it. It's, I consider it one of the biggest bargains in wrestling, and get in now while you can at $49 a month. I've already raised the price once. I will raise the price again because I've been told that this is worth like $200 a month. Now, don't worry, it's not $200 a month yet. But you get in at 49, you get in at 49 for life, as long as you don't cancel. So that's one of the things. So, and again, if that scares you, if that's too scary for them, Cliff, then they can go to the Wrestle Life Facebook page, and I have some free classes on there that they can take. Oh my goodness, so scary. Home Alone. But they can go on there and they can take some free classes from me. Okay. So if you're too scared to go on there and you're afraid I'm going to lie and charge your credit card for $20 million, which I don't have anything to do with it. That's Stripe. So Stripe's pretty reputable. They won't mess with you. You can go on Facebook and just take the free classes. And I have about 4 or 5 of them on there. One promoter class, one booker class, a couple wrestler classes, how to have a kick-ass match, how to stand out, and all those kind of things. And I have one, how to stand out at wrestling seminars. So you should, that's a blog. That's a checklist. You should look at that one before you go to one of my seminars, and then you'll do better. So you beat me at my own game. Take my own advice, go after me, and say, Bob, read your stuff. I got your notes ahead of time. So yeah, go on the Facebook page. And you can always try to friend me on the Bob Evans Facebook page. I'm a Facebook guy most of all. But on Twitter is Brutal Bob Evans, and T Wrestle Life on Twitter. We're just starting to build that up. Don't have many followers on there, but a little bit at a time. And we had guys that hung with us, traveled with us this past weekend, and those guys have been probably booked for 9 or 10 different promotions, 2 in Canada. So they set themselves up for success, and pretty much can guarantee if you do the stuff. Nothing is guaranteed, but pretty much can guarantee if you do the stuff I tell you to do, you'll blow away that $49 a month big time, probably in the first couple months you do it. So jump in, jump on. It's only going to get better. It's only going to get bigger. And it's awesome because this is my passion. This is what I'm supposed to do. This is what I was put on earth to do, is teach guys like you, Cliff, and teach everybody watching out here. So, but yeah, feel free to check it out. TheWrestleLife.com. See a nice picture of me smiling in front of the water with me and my kids, and a nice picture of Newport, Rhode Island, and showing you that I actually have a family and my family actually still likes me. And lots of people on there. The aforementioned Mike Bennett, August Gray, Sledge, H.C. Loke from ECW legend, and about probably 30 or 40 independent that this has worked for them. And they're excited to be a part of everything that I do. And it's only, like I said, it's only going to get bigger and better. So please feel free to join us. Like I said, 2 weeks free. What's there to lose?
What is there to lose? There's nothing to lose. And with that being said, this is the 3 Count Podcast presents Now Entering the Ring. And like I said, the Sherpa himself, Clifford the Red Dog Miller, leading you up the summit of this mountain. But it's not about me. It's about who's entering the ring with Brutal Bob Evans. And you guys know what to do. Tune into the next episode and be there. Or you just wait till the end of this episode, the outro, and then the next episode is going to play. Peace. What's going on, 3 Count Nation? I'm Clifford Red Dog Miller with the catchphrase. But what I really want to do right now, go to twitter.com, right? Go over there, find us at the 3count_pod, give us a follow, give us a like, give us a comment. We want to talk to you guys. Go to IG at the 3 Count Pod. Give us a like, give us a follow, leave us a comment. We want to interact with you. Go to youtube.com, give us a subscribe, turn the bell on, turn the notifications, leave a comment. We want to talk to you. Go to anchor.fm/the 3 Count Podcast, and in there, you can leave us a message, and we will talk to you. Basically, what I'm trying to tell you is that we want to talk to you. We want to have fun with you guys, and we love listening to what you guys have to say. Also, one thing I need you to do for me, the 3 Count Podcast also has merchandise. At ProWrestlingTees.com/the 3 Count Pod. Please go buy our t-shirts. We love you guys, and we hope you love us too. So show us some support, please.